Hey guys, so in this video we're going to dive into a history of competitive Fortnite and discuss its major downfalls as an esport. You guys have asked for more rant videos, and after watching the World Cup qualifiers and seeing players like Mr. Savage not qualify for the semi-finals, I felt like talking about the current state and the past states of competitive Fortnite. The background gameplay will be a little different than usual. I'm going to put highlights and different gameplay from tournaments over the course of competitive Fortnite instead of me like pub stomping or something like that, as I think it'll help you guys understand the video better and it just seems more fitting overall. Before we start though, I just want to make it clear that this isn't me complaining and making excuses because I didn't win the World Cup or something like that. I literally didn't even compete in the qualifiers this weekend, but I still keep up and follow competitive Fortnite very closely. I feel like there's still going to be comments of people saying,
"You only think it's a joke because you're not good enough to win."
What's funny about those comments are that the people who say that don't realize the entire pro community, including people like Ghost Bizzle, who have made more than $500,000 and will continue to win money. Even players like Bizzle think that Fortnite eSports is a joke and that it's not truly competitive. It's not like I'm some angry 12-year-old who got dumped on in an arena match and decided to make a rant video. While I may sound 12, I'm making this video to voice and kind of explain concerns and thoughts of pro players. On Twitter, I see a lot of the casual Fortnite players telling pros to stop complaining and to stop whining and to be grateful that they get paid to play Fortnite competitively. Hopefully by the end of this video you can understand where these pros are coming from and why they're so vocal and have been in the past about the state of Fortnite. With that out of the way, let's start all the way at the beginning when the first competitive Fortnite matches took place. So I want to give you guys a full and complete picture of the competitive scene, so we're going to have to start all the way back at the beginning with the first Fortnite Invitationals from early December 2017. I bet a lot of you guys didn't even play back then. I know I started playing around the middle of December, so this was technically like 2 weeks before my time. This was right after the start of Season 2, which was technically the first season with a Battle Pass, and back when Anarchy Acres and Moisty Myers were around, and before Tilted Towers was ever added. This wasn't Season 1, so I don't want to offend any of the OGs that played when Salty wasn't named, but still, Fortnite was young and just starting to become more popular. Fortnite Invitationals wasn't a LAN event or a competition like that. It was the first time Epic hosted customs and invited a bunch of well-known streamers. Streamers that played in these were Daquan, High Distortion, Camille's, Avery, and many of the big Fortnite names that you know now. Funnily enough, I believe Epic hosted 5 games and Daquan won every single one of them. There weren't any prizes or money on the line, but this was technically the start of competitive Fortnite as we know it. Those invitationals also helped Daquan get noticed and put him on the map as one of the best players at the time, so while he's more of a pub stomper and content creator now, put some damn respect on his name. After the invitationals, as more people started playing the game and it blew up in popularity, the first actual competitive scene began to form. With any game, pub stomping and beating up on noobs can only get so fun. This was when Myth started the original Pro Discord. Myth at the time was by and far the best player in Fortnite. This was later Season 2 and beginning of Season 3, so January and February 2018, when Myth had the most wins in the world and became famous for his play against Summit. Myth was at the forefront of the competitive community and was one of the reasons it began to grow. Build battles were just starting to become a thing as Myth basically pioneered new building strategies like building 1x1s, double ramping, and basic builds that we take for granted like scissor ramps. Because there was no ranked mode at the time, and there barely is one today, and Epic also refused to give out customs, all the competitive players in the scene who wanted to practice and play against each other were forced to Q-snipe each other. Basically, all these good players like Myth, Hamlins, Jowmock, and Ifa would just sit in a Discord call and someone would count down from 3. Then they would all press play and try to get into each other's games. Fortnite continued to grow in popularity, and soon squad scrims became the norm for the competitive scene. I actually remember being on console, but still watching Llama Lords, which was originally Zate, Risker, Parallax, and Kenneth, every day at 7 PM. This was around Season 3 when major orgs started joining the scene and investing in Fortnite, like TSM, FaZe, WBG, and Team Liquid. This was also one of the first signs of Epic's incompetence and just general lack of care for a competitive side of Fortnite. Pros would constantly beg Epic for custom codes, but Epic either wouldn't let them have it, or they would give them out to only content creators and would take them away if they found out you were hosting scrims in them. Pros and competitive players had no other choice and were just Q-sniping each other like I said before, and Epic had literally no word or no say on a future ranked mode. What's also pretty messed up thinking about it is that these people played and practiced squad scrims for months. Aspiring pros and competitive players grinded through FNPL and Step 1 squad scrims to try to make it to the private pro chord. Basically, every competitive player and their mother was playing squad scrims to practice and to scrim. But just think about it, has there ever been a competitive squad event held so far? Nope. It's only been duos and solos. Epic knew that they'd never be able to hold a squad competition because of how bad the servers were, but they still let pros and competitive players practice them. They could have told people early on, hey, you shouldn't be playing squads, we're gonna hold competitions in solos and duos, so practice that. I believe they actually told Myth that, which was when TSM stopped scrimming back then, but the point is that this was Epic's first instance of treating the competitive community like crap. Then, in May 2018, Epic announced it would be providing $100 million for competitive Fortnite in 2018 and 2019. This was insane and was the start of an official competitive scene run and supported by Epic. This was at the beginning of Season 4, when Double Pump was still a thing and Dusty Depot had just been destroyed with a meteor. In July came Epic's first big event and tournament, which was the Summer Skirmish. It ran for 8 weeks with a total of $8 million on the line and concluded at PAX West, which was the first Epic Run LAN event. This was also where the trouble began and where Epic's lack of competitive integrity started to really show. At PAX West, they invited a handful of established pros to just skip the lines and qualify, and then they had the rest qualify after standing in the rain all day and then playing a series of matches. It wasn't the best format, but it also wasn't the worst. They also forced everyone onto native, which, like the format, wasn't a huge problem because stretch res wasn't huge or mainstream or popular at the time. The real problem was that they forced everyone onto Logitech G502 mice and a G Pro keyboard. Epic literally made every pro use sponsored peripherals from Logitech instead of their own personal peripherals. In any competitive esport, this is absolutely unheard of. No major esport forces or has ever forced people to use a certain mouse, keyboard, or controller or settings. You should want the players to be on their own settings and peripherals so they're playing to the best of their ability and it's as competitive as possible, but I guess Epic didn't quite understand that and they kinda still don't. Fall Skirmish at TwitchCon came after that, and Epic again forced everyone to use sponsored Logitech mice and keyboards and made everyone use native resolution. By this time though, most pros were using stretch resolution, so this was a huge deal. It somehow got even worse though. 2 days before TwitchCon, Epic added zombies and glider redeployed to the game. The zombies were actually going to be a part of the competition, I kid you not, and pros practiced on them for a few days, but luckily they were taken out for the LAN event. What stayed in the game for TwitchCon was glider redeploy, which dramatically changed everyone's playstyles. People could build up on high ground with one floor and take no fall damage because they would just glide down, or people would just get low and then glide away and waste all their mats build fighting with no fear in the world because they would take no fall damage from gliding. The funniest part is that the pros at the event couldn't even practice on it for more than just like a day. They literally went in with barely any practice of this entirely new meta. Next was Winter Royale, which was an absolute abomination of an event. Winter Royale was an online event and open qualifier, so anybody could compete and win. I actually thought this was cool, as new faces could make a name for themselves and win some money. Unfortunately, this was during probably the worst meta in the history of Fortnite. Planes were in the game and made rotations ridiculously easy. On top of that, you could laser people with the turrets and ram through their builds and break down their bases, knocking them 20 feet in the air. People in planes also wouldn't shoot each other because there was basically a truce between everyone in planes to try and last until endgame by never shooting or fighting each other. Planes alone made this event an absolute joke, but then, out of nowhere, the week before the Winter Royale finals, Epic added the Infinity Blade. The Infinity Blade was without a doubt the most overpowered and stupidest item ever added to Fortnite. You could hit people with it for 100 damage, you could jump 15 feet in the air or leap forward and take no fall damage, you got an extra 200 health and a shield that regened over time, and a speed boost. They actually thought that this was a good idea to add to their quote-unquote competitive tournament, but this really just solidified what everyone was thinking deep down, that competitive Fortnite was nothing more than a marketing scheme by Epic to promote new items and crap that they added to their game. A few weeks later, WSOE hosted a Fortnite tournament, which was the first big third-party tournament not hosted by Epic. But of course, Epic had to make it as uncompetitive and as stupid and laughable as possible, so they added the boombox to the game. The patch was originally supposed to come out the day after the WSOE tournament, but Epic literally moved it up a day and released it early to make sure it was used in the tournament. A brand spanking new item that could destroy every build in a 10-foot radius? Yeah, why not add it to a tournament at the last second? Another event, another joke it seemed. Then, out of nowhere, Epic made a shift for Secret Skirmish, which was another LAN. While they did force everyone to use peripherals again, they gave a few different options, but the craziest thing that they did and the weirdest shift was that they allowed pros to use stretch resolutions. They gave pros, I think, 4 or 5 different stretch reses that they could use and play on because the spectating client would just broadcast it in native. Things were actually starting to look up for once. The next big third-party tournament was ESL, where pros could finally use their own peripherals, and they could use any resolution that they wanted. The only bad part was that it just so happened to land on the weekend that Season 8 came out. It's almost like Epic forced ESL to hold the tournament on that day. Oh yeah, that's because they did. So every pro who landed on the northeast side of the map had their landing spot changed entirely. Even though Epic showed its incompetence by forcing them to play on a new season, ESL had a great scoring system and was just a really well-run tournament overall. People started to think that maybe Epic wasn't as dumb as we thought and that competitive Fortnite wasn't a complete joke anymore. Epic added Arena mode, which was basically their version of Ranked, and started to host weekly tournaments for money. Then Epic made another shift and everything went to complete crap, which is how we got to where we are today. First, ballers became meta, and endgames and competitive matches started turning into 30 people rolling around in hamster balls. After that, Epic announced and eventually took away stretch resolutions from the game, even though they let everyone play on them for months and allowed it at Secret Skirmish. Then, Epic announced the Fortnite World Cup with qualifiers that were all online. Players would qualify through Arena, then play in 10 games on Saturday to get to the finals on Sunday, and then the top players who had the highest scores from the Sunday games from each region would qualify for the World Cup Finals in New York City. At a first glance, it didn't seem too bad, but let's really think about it for a second. The format gives you 10 games to play in 3 hours. This is pretty stupid because you can't play a full 10 games out in 3 hours while also waiting in queue once you get higher points. This means people start W-keying and making stupid plays to get all their games in, which will screw up the games that you play. Fortnite is just so uniquely frustrating because someone else can completely ruin your game and their game if they wanted to, and that's what the format forces people to do. The scoring system also doesn't reward placement enough and over-rewards kills, which again forces people to play like clowns to get kills. On top of that, there's no LANs or in-person events before the World Cup Finals. This just breeds cheaters and hackers because everything is online. Basically, all you had to do to qualify is get a top score from the Sunday after you qualified from Saturday. Most pros want at least one LAN in between, as people play differently on LAN and the World Cup Finals would be on LAN, so why not just have an extra qualification in the middle? Insanely enough, a guy who just qualified for the World Cup was just accused of hacking. Whether or not he did it is still up for debate, but it just goes to show that it can and it will happen with only online qualifiers. And I said it before, but I'll say it again, everyone has been forced to play on native for the World Cup as well. The last problem on top of all this is what I mentioned a little before, the garbage meta that we're in. Ballers are completely overpowered and give you a free trip to endgame. Epic was originally supposed to nerf them by making it possible for the people inside ballers to take damage if they got shot at, but instead they just barely nerfed the HP of ballers. The loot pool in this meta is also crap and could use a fix, like why the hell is there a boom bow, or why do snipers do 150 damage to your chest in a competitive game mode? Why are there still white tacks and pistols all over the place? And let's not forget about the insane amount of bugs like ghost shots, not being able to build, ATV glitches, or just the fact that you can't get more than 60 FPS endgame if you run the most expensive PC in the world. Evidently, Fortnite is not World Cup ready, yet here we are, little puppets in Epic's show, doing whatever we can to get a piece of that $30 million World Cup pie. If you can't understand why pros are so mad and complain, just put yourself in their shoes. These guys practice for 8 to 10 hours a day, they give up school and their social lives, and this is how Epic treats them. If you were in their positions, you'd be just as vocal about the state of the game. They, along with pretty much everyone else, just wants Fortnite to be competitive and to be fun again. Let's hope we see some changes in the future, but right now, competitive Fortnite has and is a joke. So, if you guys enjoyed this kind of rant and Fortnite history lesson, I guess, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and to turn on post notifications. Thank you to everyone using my code in the item shop. It helps out a lot, and I really do appreciate you all. Otherwise, that's it from me, and I will see you guys in the next one. Later.